All right, I want to get this thought out. My goal is to be able to see the tragedy of the situation and to be able to be honest about what's happening all the time. Okay? So let's first start from the perspective of the borderline. So the borderline inside of themselves, they have a lot of black and white thinking about themselves. And when they have black thinking about themselves, when they think, oh my God, I'm the worst human being, it's not just shame. It's a shame that is like, you don't deserve to live. This is why we see a high suicide rate. Okay, so this is really serious. This isn't nothing. Okay? That is how excruciating the pain is. So when they see themselves as this horrible thing that's unworthy of life, they want to kill themselves. This is what happens. So what they need to do is they need to dissociate from that person as soon as possible. So they need to sever the connection between now and those feelings. They have to cut the connection between those feelings as quickly as possible so that they don't go into incredible despair. So if you had someone with borderline and they're splitting on themselves and they're feeling dark, it's excruciating. How are they supposed to live their life without looking for some kind of external thing to soothe them? This is the name of the game, is self-soothing. So one way is through finding new relationships and the love bombing and everything like that, because isn't it great? It's such an escape from these horrible feelings I have about myself, right? So this is understandable, but eventually that honeymoon, the dopamine dream, this kind of thing, it's inevitable that it leaves. And so then it's inevitable that the splitting begins again. And it's inevitable that the devaluation will happen. And it's inevitable that the discard will happen. And it's inevitable that the final discard will happen. This is unending. You need to understand as a partner that this is unending and there's nothing you can do about it. So here's what happens is that if they're feeling terrible inside, they're going to project onto you that you're terrible. It's just a way to get rid of it. Because the consequences of feeling that feeling inside of them is death, is suicide, is, that's what it is. And that's part of your caring has been around helping to alleviate this or thinking that you're alleviating it. So they project onto you this bad thing. Now, in the beginning, you might not hold on to that. But in fact, over time, you do hold on to that. And over time, what happens is they're using what's called projective identification. So, they come in, they're angry at you, then you start getting angry, and now you're the angry person. And then we have now proof and evidence, and you might go, damn, yeah, I am the angry person. And over time, you just start to take on this identity. You either take it on by honestly thinking maybe it's true. You take it on when there's some kind of discard happening. But what happens is, it's not only are you losing respect for yourself and they're losing respect for you, but you're actually becoming the thing. You're becoming the physical embodiment of the thing that they have been cutting a connection to since the beginning of time. So their natural instinct, if there's someone like that, is they cut them out of their life because they're doing it to themselves. Every time they see that person in themselves, they're either completely broken down, and that's when they're crying and maybe you're there helping them, but that's when their defenses are down. And as codependents, we're so selfish because we want to keep them in that state, because in that state we can be powerful and we can help them, and then they're so vulnerable they won't lash out at us. But what happens is as soon as they're stronger, the defenses come back up and the projection comes out, and this is actually them in a stronger position. Okay, so try to imagine that too, that this is their strength. This is when the shield is on. This is when the armor is on. This is when it's working. When the armor falls off, it's a horrible thing for them to be in. Maybe for you it's great, but for them, no. This is near-death experience, right? And who wants to feel like that? No one wants to feel like that. So the projections are going to continue and continue and continue. And the more you take it on, through admitting it, or through you just kind of give up and you go, yeah, okay, yeah, I'm bad. And you're just doing it to avoid the argument, whatever it is. You are literally becoming the embodiment of all of the bad things in them that they feel about themselves. So literally when they look at you, now they can see it. They don't even have to split to see it. You're just walking around like that all the time. And this is why when the final discard happens with so many people, they're completely drained, they're empty, they feel awful. And actually what you're feeling is you're feeling how your partner feels all the time, and what your partner is running from all the time. And except you've given up the responsibility around fixing that, and you've given them the responsibility to fix it, and then you won't. And that's why people complain at like, oh my God, I'm just this person's emotional punching bag. Like, what is this about? Well, this is emotional self-regulation for them. And the reason why the devaluation, when it happens, is so brutal is because if you're really trying to sever a connection completely, you need to cut the deepest you can cut. You need to hit the hardest you can hit. I mean, if you're really looking to sever that connection, that must be the action, and that's an impulsive action. That's why if a borderline turns dark on themselves, they can kill themselves. That's the ultimate severing of this connection. So they're going to take it out on you in this way. Now, once a connection is severed, once their emotions have now calmed down, they'll be like, oh, damn. No, I wanted that person around. That person's really supportive, and I really like the way they make me feel, and all this other stuff. And then this other side will come back. But by that time, the damage is done, and you're taking on the damage, and you're just going to become more and more injured over time until you really do become the embodiment through experiencing PTSD on pretty much a daily basis. So it's inevitable. They've been training their whole life that any time they're associated with someone who's that broken, including themselves, they have to sever the connection. And so this is what is happening. And you have to understand that in this way, it is really not personal. They're doing it to themselves, they're doing it to everybody else around them all the time, and it is unending. And they're all connected to the same thing. They're all connected to an unworthy being that is not worthy of life, that must be separated from, because by association, you'll die. Beings like you, with your PTSD and your neediness and your woundedness and your insecurity, don't deserve to live. That's the underlying message, okay? Those beings don't deserve to live, and you should never associate with beings like that at all, including the one inside of you. You should need to dissociate from that one as well. So that's what's happening. I hope this is helpful.